Alright, part 4. Diamond is Unbreakable. 14 minutes. See, like, the first half of Diamond is Unbreakable is more just setting the world. Whereas in part 3, Stardust Crusaders, they had that, what's it called? Plot from the start. It was like, Jotaro's in, but his mother's dying, we have to find Dio. Whereas Diamond is Unbreakable was like, I have a stand, I'm an illegitimate JoJo child. What up? I go to school. What up? You know, like, nothing happens for half the season. It literally, nothing happens for half a season. And then you get the serial killer.
I'm on the beat!
What the F is this music? Seriously. It's like some edgy 90s, 2000s edgy music.
It is now time for part 4 of the JoJo anime and manga differences.
I have to ask. Fashion choice. Just saying.
The part 4 adaptation is probably one of the most interesting when it comes to changes. A large amount is added and rearranged across the entire season. Basically,
Josuke is introduction as Joseph's illegitimate child.
Let's take a look.
It's non-used music for part 2. Oh, really? It's actually JoJo music? Wow. Alright, it's on brand.
The anime occasionally plays clips from Moriocho Radio, which was added for the anime. There's a new opening scene showing one of Kira's victims. The anime...
I love how he's using the censored version. I think we watched the censored version for like half the season.
Victims. The anime shows Jotaro during his taxi ride to Morio. In the manga, there's extra dialogue to introduce Josuke's heritage. In the anime, Koichi recognizes Joseph's name. The manga had an extra schoolgirl talking to Josuke. Some of Jotaro's thoughts about Josuke are moved towards the end of the scene. In the anime, Josuke and Koichi leave Jotaro because they are running late. In the manga, Jotaro is the one who leaves. The anime takes an old woman from later in the manga and adds her to the scene where Tomoko was hit on. She is also given a name when she was nameless in the manga. The first half of Angelo's backstory and the scene of Jotaro looking at the town are moved here. The anime adds a scene introducing Angelo and shows him take control of the robber. There's a new scene of Josuke and Koichi walking from school to the grocery store. The anime adds a woman with the robber who is killed by Angelo. There is a scene showing some of the future stand users in the crowd. The anime adds a scene of Josuke speaking to Jotaro on the phone and Angelo outside of Josuke's house. The second half of Angelo's backstory is moved to the beginning of the second episode, and is combined with the scene of him meeting Tomoko. The anime adds a scene with Oh That's a Baseball from part 3. In the manga, Josuke's video game console is modeled after a Super Famicom. The anime changes it to resemble a Nintendo 64. The anime adds a scene of Koichi outside of Josuke's house. The Nijimura brothers' house is also visible in this scene. In the anime, Josuke explains that his mother is away with relatives during the scene when Angelo attacks. The anime adds a scene of Josuke jumping down the stairs. In the anime, you can see the glove before Josuke takes it, and the leftover glove afterwards. The Nijimura house is now visible in the background of the Angelo rocks scene. Angelo's flashback is shorter than in the manga. There is a new scene of Jotaro speaking on the phone with the Speedwagon Foundation, asking for them to send him the photo of Enya with the arrow. There's a scene of Koichi researching the disappearances in Morio. The scene of Jotaro meeting Tomoko is shown early. In the anime, Okuyasu lands a few punches on Josuke before being defeated. Josuke is now shown bandaging his hand during the Bad Company fight. Kaicho is not directly shown being hit with Bad Company's missiles. The anime cuts away to the outside of the house. The year where Kaicho's flashback takes place is changed. The symbol on the young Okuyasu's bat is removed. The shadow in the window was changed to look more like Akira. A new scene is added of Okuyasu meeting Josuke for school. In the manga, Tamami became short after he was defeated by Koichi. The anime makes him short from the beginning.
Wait, he gets short after being defeated? What? I think we watched Uncensored for part 3, but when we got to the second half, we decided to watch Uncensored for the rest of it. You mean you think we watched Censored for part 3, but when we got to the second half, we went Uncensored? Design changes. Oh, okay.
The scene of Hazamada's victim stabbing himself is shown.
Ugh.
Hazamada is also introduced as short from the beginning.
This guy's like pretty brutal, making people kill themselves.
Rohan's manga Pink Dark Boy is added to Hazamada's locker. Yukako is introduced early in the anime, admiring Koichi from afar. The manga had an extra scene of Josuke asking people if they saw his copy. The anime shows Red Hot Chili Peppers spying on Josuke after the fight is over. When Yukako talks about Prince, the anime adds an image of him performing. There's a new scene of Josuke and Okuyasu figuring out where Koichi is being held. An ominous scene showing Tonio is added to the beginning of the episode. The scene of Okuyasu convincing Josuke to go to the restaurant is shortened. Tonio explains why he came to Morio before serving Okuyasu. In the manga, he explains it after he learns Josuke and Okuyasu are stand users. The video game Josuke was playing is shown. The detailed description of Akira's guitar is removed. A new scene showing one of Kira's victims is shown. Kira is also visible in the streets of Morio during the power outage. The scene of Akira in prison is shown. The manga only mentions it in exposition.
Did they do the whole thing of Akira looking like Kaz on purpose, or was it just an accident?
Rohan is briefly foreshadowed in the middle of the episode. The scene of Josuke discovering the receipt is shown. Josuke's birthmark is also added to this scene, since it was never visible in the manga. A new scene of Hazamada in the bookstore is shown. The scene also shows the stand user from the Cheap Trick fight with his back covered. Iggy is added to the image of the Part 3 group. Before Josuke's backstory...
What do you mean added? Hashtag justice for Iggy.
Koichi and Okuyasu are shown in the style of the Volume 34 cover. Josuke's line about Mickey Mouse is removed. Jotaro no longer shows Josuke on the map where the rat was shot.
Oh my god, they're playing Thingo's theme. I say Thingo because I forgot the name.
In the manga, Jotaro mentions that he can only stop time for 1 second. Multiple lines are cut from the conversation between Rohan and Koichi.
Kira's.
In the anime, Heaven's Door is shown fully materializing and touching Reimi to reveal her pages. The scene of Rohan being asked for directions is removed. Kira's introduction is moved to 1 scene later.
I love this. There's a blonde European guy in Japan and he's got to be a serial killer.
Kira's...
I just love this. Goku Raichi. Roku Gaichi is a fucking serial killer. The Japanese really don't like outsiders, do they?
His introduction is moved to 1 scene later. The brand name of Josuke's shoes is removed from the anime. The scene of Shigechi finding his old chewing gum is removed. There is a new line where Okuyasu says he thinks Shigechi's mom is attractive.
Sorry, that's just funny.
A cameo scene of Koichi and Yukako is added. The 2 conversations with the bank teller are combined into 1.
Oh, this bank mother...
Josuke is shown biting his lip during the scene at the bank. This is a reference to the Enigma fight, where biting his lip is revealed to be his tail. The anime shows Crazy Diamond healing Okuyasu's ear. There is now a cat that gets scared by Shigechi when he passes by. I thought that it might be Stray Cat's user from later, but it looks different. The anime shows Shigechi stealing the alcohol for later in the fight. The Cinderella arc was moved to be before the Yoshikage Kira chapters, while in the manga it was immediately after. The first scene of this arc in the manga references the Kira chapters, so it was replaced. Originally, Joseph tells Yukako to go to the Cinderella salon, while in the anime, she is shown spying on Koichi and stumbles upon the salon herself. A cameo scene of Kira is added to the beginning of the episode. The scene of Yukako cutting in line and tying a man's arm to a pole is removed. Josuke is shown using Crazy Diamond to save himself from falling out the window.
Really? That's just Darwinism at work.
Aya reading Yukako's hand lines is skipped. Several scenes in the episode are stylized to look like Aya's Cinderella book. The anime adds an extra scene of Kira in his house. Dialogue is added to acknowledge the events of the Cinderella arc, since it was moved. Kira is not shown wearing gloves inside of the gym. A new conversation between Josuke and Okuyasu was added to the background of Kira trying to grab the bag. Kira is no longer shown looking over his shoulder before revealing his stand. In the anime, Killer Queen is briefly shown with a skull for a face. The anime shows Kira's neck wound throughout the fight. In the manga, it disappeared. Aya is added to the group of characters gathered to discuss Kira. Kira's unique tie-in shirt from when he walks past Josuke is replaced with the Sheer Heart Attack outfit. He now has bandages for his neck wound. Kira is now shown destroying the severed hand before following the woman. A scene of Kira at the woman's apartment was added, along with a scene of Koichi before meeting up with Jotaro. A shot from the tailor's point of view is added, where he can only see Sheer Heart Attack's trail. Some of Act 3's dialogue is removed. The brand name of Kira's jacket is not shown in the anime.
Wait, so his jacket has a brand? What brand is it? We got laid off a week ago, broke as shit, and you didn't lift a finger to help. Valentino, you rich bastard. Oh. Think you can wear that expensive crap in front of poor people like us? Just the sight of you makes me want to throw your nice shoes. Throw up your nice shoes. Throw up on your nice shoes. Okay, so we actually know what brand his suit is.
Koichi's inner monologue about Kira's normal appearance is skipped. Josuke is shown trying to heal Aya with his stand in the anime. During the shot of the crowd, Mikitaka, Yuya, and Teranosuke are visible. Kira, disguised as Kozaku, can also be seen. Some of the chapters at the Kawajiri house are now placed before the Atom Heart Father episode. Okuyasu's dialogue about ghosts is removed. Shinobu's dialogue about how Hayato has her trapped in the marriage is skipped. In the manga, the landlord is nice at first before asking for the rent.
I mean, what do you expect him to do? Not ask for the rent? I don't get this kid either. It's because of you I was roped into this marriage in the first place. And because of you, I can't get a divorce either. You're just like your damn father. Oof! 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 Wow!
Hayato has her trapped in the marriage is skipped. In the manga, the landlord is nice at first before asking for the rent. The conversation about Rohan's manga translation between Rohan and Joseph is removed. The anime skips Rohan reading the details of Ken's pages. Some of Yoshihiro's monologue is removed from the fight. The scene of Mikitaka being shot with the arrow is now before the scene with Kira. There is a new scene of Jotaro with a Speedwagon Foundation member. Some of Josuke and Okuyasu's dialogue before meeting Mikitaka is removed. The scene of Mikitaka showing his electric toothbrush is removed, as is the scene of him mimicking the yen note. The scene of Josuke practicing with the dice is skipped. Rohan no longer goes inside to look for dice. Multiple scenes are removed from the dice game, including the history of CeeLo told by Rohan, Josuke's story about his grandmother, and Rohan testing the dice by biting them. The scene of Mikitaka sweating and Josuke pretending to sneeze to cover it up is also removed. The scene of Hayato spying on his mother and Kira is moved here instead of a few chapters earlier. Some of Josuke and Rohan's dialogue on the bus is removed. There is a new scene of Josuke healing Rohan after the Highway Star fight. Before the Stray Cat arc, a scene is added of Hayato leaving for school. Stray Cat's inner monologue where he discovers he has become a plant is shortened. The scene of Shinobu leaving flowers for the cat is skipped. Kira making Stray Cat sniff a cigarette is removed. The events of the Superfly, Enigma, and Cheap Trick fights are rearranged to show that they occur simultaneously. There's a new scene of Jotaro and Joseph with the SPW agent. Yoshihiro is now shown finding his son and spying on Rohan. Josuke, Okuyasu, and Koichi are now shown discussing Kira. Koichi's kidnapping is shown, while the manga only mentions it after it happened. Cheap Trick's user can now be seen outside before ringing Rohan's doorbell. There are new scenes of Kira at work and Hayato at school. Some of Mikitaka's dialogue before the Superfly fight is removed. Many of the details of the Superfly tower are skipped.
Wow, they actually did the whole thing for this. Wow. This is pretty legit. Bird snare, mushroom, rabbit snare. This is legit. Someone spent time on this.
The details of the Superfly tower are skipped. Some of Kinoto's dialogue at Rohan's house is removed. A portion of the Superfly fight is skipped, along with much of the user's dialogue afterwards. In the manga, Josuke brings Koichi's bag to Yuya in the hospital, while in the anime he takes him to where it is. Rohan dropping his pen to try and see Kinoto's back is skipped. Kinoto is not shown crawling up the stairs. The taxi driver's dialogue in the Enigma fight is removed. More of Echo's Act 3's dialogue is skipped. The chapter My Dad Is Not My Dad is shown simultaneously with Cheap Trick, since they occur at the same time. Much of the Cheap Trick fight is skipped, including Rohan trying to block his hearing, and Cheap Trick drawing people into Rohan's house to see his back. Jotaro is shown investigating the couple Kira killed. There is a new scene of Josuke and Koichi planning to go to the Kawajiri house with Rohan. Kira no longer bites the characters for victory into his nails. Kira is now shown combing his hair back, when in the manga it changes off-screen. Shinobu's teapot now has a different design. The Gucci branding was removed from Rohan's watch. Kira's calculations...
Really? Really? You're not even gonna get a legitimate watch? Like, if you get a watch company, right, they have good watches that will last a lifetime. Or you can get a branded watch from a company that doesn't even make watches, but brands. It's like, whatever.
For the trajectory of the air bullet is removed. Yoshihiro is shown disintegrating in the manga. The hand's position during Okuyasu's return was changed. A flashback of Kira as a child is shown. Kira's death is much more graphic in the anime.
Woof.
Reimi's farewell scene is extended. The ending is significantly expanded to show what happened to all of the characters. A new scene of Tomoko at home is shown, along with a picture of Josuke's grandfather. Koichi and Yukako are shown meeting in front of the Angelo Rock. Okuyasu, his father, and Stray Cat are shown at Tonio's restaurant. They attempt to cure him using Tonio's food, but it doesn't work. Yuya Fungami and his groupies are also shown at the restaurant. Multiple minor characters are shown on the sidewalk in Morio. Koichi's mother and sister talking about Yukako, the old woman who was added to the first episode, the mother and baby from the Highway Star arc, the biker from the surface fight and the girl from the Cinderella arc who are now a couple, and Kira's former co-workers discussing his death. There is a scene of Tamami and Hazamata arguing. Rohan is shown doing his hand stretches from the Rohan one-shot chapters. Toyohiro and Mikitaka are shown inside of Superfly. Josuke, Okuyasu, and Koichi are shown crouched in front of the Osen store. This is a homage to one of the JoJo manga commercials. Josuke's final pose is shown here instead of at the docks. And that was every difference in Part 4. A large amount of fun moments were skipped to fit the manga into the 39 episode limit. However, the amount of things added, especially to the ending, do help with the pacing of the part.
39 episode limit. So you've got part 1 and 2, which were like, what, 24 episodes. Part 3, which was 48. Part 4, which was 39. What is this limit thing? Who decides the number? What about 40? No, 39. What about 38? No, 39. It's like, what?
The Part 5 anime is not over yet, but I will begin to work on a video for it to be ready shortly after the final episode. But in the meantime, we have one more thing to cover. Next time on the JoJo anime and manga differences...
What?
We'll be looking at the Part 4 live-action movie.
They had a... What the hell?
Next time on the JoJo anime and manga...
So what made them choose this part out of everything else? Was it because it was the closest to slice of life? Because they thought Stardust Crusaders would be too difficult? Like, what was the inspiration? They wanted budget constraints because they didn't want to have to do backdrops? Everyone is Japanese. So basically they picked this part because it's set in suburbia. And they wouldn't have to spend a fortune on the background. Live action movies are always so weird. They're always so weird. I'm sorry, but when you like anime is stylized. You know, it's like games. It's the art style. It fits because that's the art style. But then you try to replicate that in the real world and it just ends up being yeah. Like, what can I say? Oh my god.
The differences, we'll be looking at the Part 4 live-action movie. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 patrons. Thank you Alex Ramirez, thank you Renee Klein, thank you Fox, thank you Keo, and thank you Boat Girl.
Oh, so not all of these people are $5 patrons. Oh. I was like worried some people were getting skipped by accident. I'd be like, oh my god, imagine getting skipped. That would hurt so much. But apparently not all of them are thingos. Okay. Dude, if he's gonna do like the movie, do I even have the movie here? JoJo anime and manga differences. I don't think I actually have the movie one. I haven't seen the movie, and I don't really think differences between a movie and not a movie are even valid, but like, whatever. I forget the name of the movie. Part 1, it is time loop based on manga. And I don't know. Steins Gate, maybe? How would you rate JoJo? I like different parts I would have to rate differently. There's not, it's hard to give it one rating because it's a genre on its own. In order to rate something, I need something to be able to compare to it. And JoJo is kind of its own weird thing in its own category. It plays by its own tune. So I can't compare, say, for example, the fights in JoJo with fights in other anime. There's no fair comparison. And then at the same time, I can't really compare the art style and animation in JoJo with art style and animation of another anime because JoJo keeps changing it all the time to suit whatever they're doing in that particular moment. So I can't just give JoJo a rating. I just treat JoJo like its own genre. I don't want to call it a classic because it makes it sound old, but it's been around for long enough to be considered a classic. It's one of those franchises which I would say iconic. Yeah, exactly. I didn't even watch it, but I heard of it. And part of the reason I didn't watch it was because I just heard like one, similar to a lot of the things, if something's super popular, I don't necessarily jump on it. Because in most mainstream things, like whatever the trends are, if it's super popular, it's usually moronic, particularly in the West. You know, it just ends up being a fail. But in the case of JoJo, it makes sense. It's popular because it's so different. And it's actually held that title. It's not a fire in a frying pan. It's actually lasted the test of time. It's been around for long enough, and I can see why. And it keeps somehow refreshing just enough that it keeps bringing something new to the table. And then at some point, it threw the table outside the window from like the 10th story of a building. That's basically JoJo. So yeah, it's. Is it something that I would recommend to someone that doesn't watch anime? No. Because it's too weird for a normie. Would I recommend JoJo to someone that has watched the fair few anime? Yes. Because you need to, at the very least, be somewhat familiar with anime and tropes and all that sort of stuff to be able to enjoy it. So luckily, I'm sort of in that area where I haven't seen an insane amount of anime. But I've seen enough anime to get it. You know, I kind of get it. But it even took me about 2-3 seasons to kind of calm down and just relax and sit back and enjoy the ride. Because when I'm watching something, I get into it, you know? Like, I'm paying attention to the plot, I'm paying attention to the characters, I'm paying attention to the dialogue, and I'm trying to figure out what's the mystery, what's going on, you know, like, what's the plot, what's the antagonist's plan. I'm that kind of viewer. I get very engaged. And JoJo isn't that type of anime. You're not going to be able to figure out in episode 1, 2, or 3 what's going to happen at the end of the season. Because, quite frankly, the writer might not even know. It's one of those really random anime that loves to take 90-degree turns all the time. It's like that map in Crash Team Racing where you go up the Aztec Pyramid and it's got a bunch of 90-degree turns to go up. You can't just do it, you know, it's not like a normal story that's, you know, light turns here and there, 30 degrees, 40 degrees. It's like 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Ha ha ha, 118 degrees because fuck you. It's just so different. And it took me a while to appreciate that. And so by the time I got to like part 4, part 5, part 6, I kind of knew how to approach JoJo, where it's like, don't take it so seriously. don't question it so much, because in about 5 minutes, it'll be forgotten. The ability won't ever be used again, or the stand won't ever be seen again. The person might not even exist. You know, it's one of those things, right? Don't think about it. Just roll with it. It's just insane. So yeah, I know it's a little bit of a long-winded answer to your question, but like, how would I rate JoJo? For anyone that's an anime enjoyer, I would say it's a must-see. If you enjoy anime, it's almost like a rite of passage to go through the JoJo journey. Because if you've watched anime and you've sort of appreciate the art style and the storytelling and you can enjoy it, you need JoJo to kind of shake your world a little bit. You need it. Because it's just going to break you. Like, if you get used to anime, you know, you can kind of live inside the anime house with the walls and the roof and everything. JoJo just rips the wall out, rips the roof off, throws it in the air, like shakes it upside down in a typhoon and tornado while it's spinning around. It just rocks your world in the worst possible way, in that it just breaks your brain. And then after you've seen JoJo, you can kind of, I believe after you've seen JoJo, you could probably watch any type of anime out there. Nothing will break your brain. Because JoJo would have already fried it. That's JoJo. Yeah. Whew. The movie I was talking about that has time loop, it's called Edge of Tomorrow. I think it's a simpler name, but it was based on a manga. Haven't seen it.
Hey, did I hand you a shrinking potion by accident? I could have sworn that was the gender swapping one.
Don't be hating. She's fun sized, that's all. She doesn't even have to get on her knees to blow.
You want to add anything to that conversation?
Nope, I'm good. In fact, I think your new size makes you an even more formidable and stealthy ninja.